Hello, brothers and sisters in Hard Dwell's family. May we be sensitive to the burdens the Lord gives us. Fitting that it's Father's Day, the Lord gave me this message. There has been an issue between two souls I know, a father and his teenage son. The son seems to slack off in school with his grades and not take his studies seriously as his father would desire for him to. His parents have been divorced and he stays with his mother. The mother is lenient and gives him several allowances even when the father feels he should be disciplined. The son began to act out towards his mother, and she had had enough, and told the son to stay with his father instead. The father and son soon had an altercation when the son didn't want to go and live with the father and spoke very disrespectfully. The father got very angry and pushed his son, irate and demanding his son's respect, whether he likes him or not. When the son was alone, he was found crying, hurt by his father's actions, and not really realizing his actions of disrespect that he also needed to be accountable for. I was there to witness the altercation and felt great empathy for the son because I had never seen him cry that way. And he was really hurt, and his father was still very angry and confrontational. I also understand the father because he was very wary and had tried several times in love to discipline the son or speak to him, but didn't get the outcome he desired. Tempers were flaring, but the situation calmed down. When I got home, I couldn't help but feel so grieved. So many men have trauma from their father's harshness, abandonment, lack of compassion or love. They teach their boys not to show emotions, that it's weakness, and a man has to be a man. According to whose standard? I've carried a burden on my heart for a while concerning men. Men of this generation, more than anything, have so much internal trauma, and they don't know how to deal with it. So you have broken boys being fathers when they themselves didn't have an example of true love of the father. Or you have men who were not raised or loved by their fathers at all. I realize it's a curse. The scripture kept popping in my head about the days of Elijah, when the father's heart would turn to their children and the children's would return back to their fathers. Malachi 4:5-6, Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. He will return the hearts of the fathers to their children and the hearts of their children to their fathers, lest I come and strike the earth with a curse. I came to the Lord with this burden. Jesus, what's on your heart? Jesus began. That's why I came to show the character, nature, and heart of the Father. The world had him all wrong. Humanity saw him different to be who he really was. And now I have my brides, souls like you, to show what the Father is truly like. That is why your work, my brides, your gifts are so important. It's an avenue for you to express God's love to his people. That is why I gave you the reading, beloved, today. The greatest need of mankind is to feel loved and heard. My Father is the best at that, and the world and men need to know and feel the Father's love. I've given you the burden and cross to carry, beloved, to pray for men of this generation to come to know the Father's love and be transformed into the likeness of their Father, so they know what it means and what it takes, how to be a true father to a soul, to their children. Satan knew this, and as he saw and observed very carefully my intimate relationship with Adam, we spoke face to face. He walked alongside me in the garden, and with my Father as well. The more he communed with me, the more understanding of my ways and of my nature he had, which was imprinted on him concerning how to love and care for the responsibilities that were entrusted to him. After the fall of temptation, that sweet union was not as deep and not as close, not because I distanced myself, but sin distanced us, for it caused the proximity to change. He was riddled with shame and guilt constantly, and much regret. And when sin birthed murder between Cain and Abel, it also birthed enmity between father and son, and so it began. This tug-of-war, this fight between father and son and father, or better yet, a father and their children, and it continued with Eli, Samuel, his sons, David and his sons, Abraham and his sons, and so forth, is a loss of love relationship with me that causes a man to be hard, harsh, despairing towards their children. And so I want to pull up the scriptures concerning the men he talked about in the Bible. Eli. The first is about Eli. 1 Samuel 2, verses 12 to 26. Eli's wicked sons. Eli's sons were scoundrels. They had no regard for the Lord. Now it was the practice of the priests that whenever any of people offered a sacrifice, the priest's servants would come with a 3-pronged fork in his hand while the meat was being boiled, would plunge the fork into the pan or kettle, or cauldron or pot. Whatever the fork brought up, the priest would take for himself. This is how they treated all the Israelites who came to Shiloh. But even before the fat was burned, the priest's servant would come and say to the person who was sacrificing, "Give the priest some meat to roast. He won't accept boiled meat from you, but only raw." If the person said to him, "Let the fat be burned first, and then take whatever you want," the servant would answer, "No, hand it over now. If you don't, I'll take it by force." The sin of the young men were very great in the Lord's sight, for they were treating the Lord's offering with contempt. Now Eli, who's very old, heard about everything his sons were doing to all of Israel, and how they slept with the woman who served at the entrance to the tent of meetings. So he said to them, "Why do you do such things? I hear from all the people about these wicked deeds of yours. No, my sons, the report I hear spreading among the Lord's people is not good. If one person sins against another, God may mediate for the offender. But if anyone sins against the Lord, who intercedes for them?" His sons, however, did not listen to their father's rebuke, for it was the Lord's will to put them to death. Samuel and his sons. 1 Samuel 8, 1-5. When Samuel grew old, he appointed his sons as Israel's leaders. The name of his firstborn was Joel. The name of the second was Abijah, and they served at Beersheba. But his sons did not follow his ways. They turned aside after dishonest gain and accepted bribes and perverted justice. So all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah. They said to him, "You are old, and your sons do not follow your ways. Now appoint a king to lead us, such as all the other nations have." Then we have Absalom's rebellion. 2 Samuel 15, verses 1-12. After this, Absalom bought a chariot and horses, and he hired 50 bodyguards to run ahead of him. He got up early every morning and went out to the gate of the city. When people brought a case to the king for judgment, Absalom would ask where in Israel they were from. They would tell him their tribe. Then Absalom would say, "You've really got a strong case here. It's too bad the king doesn't have anyone to hear it. I wish I were the judge. Then everyone could bring their case for me to judge. I would give them justice." When people tried to bow before him, Absalom wouldn't let them, and so he took them by the hand and kissed them. Absalom did this with everyone who came to the king for judgment, and so he stole the hearts of all the people of Israel. After 4 years, Absalom said to the king, "Let me go to Hebron to offer a sacrifice to the Lord and fulfill a vow I made to him. For while your servant was at Geshur in Aram, I promised to sacrifice to the Lord in Hebron if you would bring me back to Jerusalem." "All right," the king told him, "go and fulfill your vow." So Absalom went to Hebron, but while he was there, he sent secret messengers to all the tribes of Israel to stir up rebellion against the king. "As soon as you hear the ram's horn," his message read, "you just say Absalom has been crowned king in Hebron." He took 200 men from Jerusalem with him as guests, but they knew nothing of his intentions. While Absalom was offering sacrifice, he sent for Ahithophel, one of David's counselors who lived in Galo. So many others also joined Absalom, and the conspiracy gained momentum. And of course, we're about Abraham and his son Ishmael. Jesus continued, "It's a lack of love and understanding that causes a child to resist the father, coupled with the spirit of rebellion that runs so rampant. Today, it's a recipe for disaster, but not one that I cannot fix. This generation, more so than any, has been affected by this curse and assignment. So many children have no fathers, and fathers losing sight and love for their children. Children raising themselves full of bitterness, resentment, and trauma. Sons being told to be men, but never seeing the example of a good father. And my father is the best at it. If men would humble themselves, surrender all to God, the Father, and come into his loving embrace, and trade their weakness for his strength, many men would be changed and transformed by this union alone, and know what a real father looks like, loves like, disciplines like, and lives like. But too many men are broken and too prideful to admit their weakness and shortcomings, and are taught by society and culture. So they wallow, they whine, they struggle through life trying to carry their burdens alone, pain and even their own trauma alone, without ever entering to the sweetest place in the Father's heart, where they can truly call him Abba, and they become his child. But that will soon change, little one. I've heard the cry of your heart and the cry of many of my brides. These are the days of Elijah, where I'll restore the love of the Father's heart back to his children, and the children back to their fathers. Satan has been very clever to use so many avenues and means to emasculate my beloved men and their influence in the lives of their family, of their community, and even of their culture. They're losing their identity as the priest and the authority of God's voice in the household, because they have lost sight of me. Now God the Father speaks to his sons. My beloved sons, that is first who you are. My child, and you're dearly loved. Come enter into the chambers of my heart, where there's no guilt or shame, but understanding, a listening ear, and mercy upon mercy, grace upon grace, and a love that is endless, awaiting you to transform you and heal you from a life weighed down with false lies mixed with truth, fed to you by the enemy concerning who you are and who you're meant to be. I alone know that and intend to finish what I've started, bring you to the expected end, spotless and blameless standing before me and the Father. Come to know the Father and be healed of all that ails you. I will bring peace between you and your children in time, but let me heal you first. You will not know how to father unless you have allowed yourself to be fathered by me. I am a very good father. I have your best interest at heart. Your fathers on earth were mere men broken and damaged in many ways, and much of their damage has been passed on to you. But there's nothing that I cannot fix. Be patient with your children, and do not discipline them so much that they are utterly despondent and discouraged to anger. When I discipline, it's from a place of love, and even then it's not harshly, and not at all at once, or no souls would be able to survive under the weight of my justice. My discipline is always intermingled with my mercy, because I take account your frailty. So I also want you to take into account your child's frailty, his influences around him, where he goes and what he does, and the company of demons that surround him, constantly barraging him with thoughts, and take into account any wounds that have occurred, the ones you may know about, and very well the ones you have no idea about. When a child rebels, oftentimes it comes from a place of pain. Just like when my children rebel, and even begin to call your adversary Satan their master, many of them are wounded, rejected her souls who rebel and reject my love because they've been hurt by someone who is supposed to love them. Others yearn for power and honor. So it's the same with children, your sons and daughters who begin to rebel. Some have a desire for independence, are strong-willed and stubborn. It's by your loving correction, by your unconditional love, and most importantly by your prayers, that your children are changed and will unite themselves back to you. This is a work of revival I'm doing right now, and even have begun, although it cannot be seen. But my spirit is moving, where it will be seen by all children, returning back to their fathers, and their fathers turning back to their children, and families turning back to me, trusting the Good Shepherd, and in the Good Father. And that was the end of the message. Happy Father's Day to all the wonderful, amazing, heart-dwelling men, whether spiritual or biological fathers. I know as a bride of Christ, you're making an impact on the lives of those you are around.